good day, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Should I Watch That? Where we watch the movies and TV shows so you don't have to. Unless we like it and then we tell you that you really, really should watch it. So
Correct.
You're welcome for that. I am Janet.
And I am Rachel.
And Rachel, you're looking quite lovely this evening, as I've already told you, but I'll tell you again.
Thank you again. And I washed my hair. That's the only reason why. I
am
look
so
normal.
Proud.
Anybody else never wash their hair?
I think we should take this moment to share some advice, primarily to women, I guess. If you can't remember the last time you washed your hair, that means it's time to wash your hair.
Yes.
Words to live by. Okay.
Or any men's or thems that have longer hair.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like my nephew, he's got like the shaggy alpaca haircut. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
That all the boys have. And sometimes I got to be like, yo, go get in the shower, boy. I mean, he showers all the time, but he doesn't wash his hair all the time. And I'm like, it shows. It's greasy, honey. So, anyways.
I remember back in the day where every morning was a shower and a hair wash and a hair dry and a curl and a fluff and a hairspray. Woo. Talk about work.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
That was a lot of work back. I don't do that anymore.
No. Why would we?
Now I'm like, shower, tomorrow.
Take your silly body wash and just walk out the door with it. I don't have time for that.
No. I shower frequently. I just don't wash my hair frequently.
Yeah, it's the drying of the hair. It's like so much work.
There's a lot of work.
Am I old? Am I lazy? Don't answer that.
Both.
Anyway.
We're both.
I told you not to answer that.
Well, I'm answering for myself.
Okay. All right.
But anyway.
But anyway, where were we? Podcast, anyone? So on today's episode, we will be discussing the series from Netflix called Black Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
What in the world could that be about?
Alrighty, everybody. Black Rabbit. It is a limited series, 8 episodes on Netflix, starring Jude Law as Jake Friedkin, Jason Bateman as Vince Friedkin and their brothers. Then you've got Cleopatra Coleman, Sophie DeRusso, I hope I said that right, Amaka Okafor, Troy Kotzer, among others. So basically what happens, Jake, who is Jude Law, he is a rising star restaurateur in New York City. He's a co-owner, of a high-end lounge/restaurant called Black Rabbit. Gosh, I can't speak. All those L's just tripped me up. His estranged brother, Vince, who was played by Jason Bateman, he's a troubled and debt-ridden former owner. He returns to town, and old scars and dangerous obligations resurface. Jake lets Vince back into his orbit, hoping to help him, hoping to stabilize him. But in doing so, he opens the door to escalating danger, betrayal, and violence.
Okay. So, first of all, I am a fan of Jason Bateman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he
was looking rough in this series, but I think that was the whole goal of
that was the
hair
point.
And that was the point.
Mm-hmm.
Jude Law is fine, whatever. Can I start with a little bit of trivia, because this was fascinating to me.
We can do whatever we want.
Okay. So sit back and listen. If any of our millions of fans watched Ozark, which if you have not, you need to just turn us off and go watch that and come back to us.
Yes.
There was an animation sequence in the opening credits of every episode on Ozark that showed images or words that fit that episode. And they did the exact same thing with Black Rabbit. The opening credits, how they was sort of cartoonish and they would morph into different shit. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I didn't put that together, Janet. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's why I'm here. And then Jason Bateman actually directed the first 2 episodes. But if you'll recall, Laura Linney, who was his co-star on Ozark,
Mm-hmm.
and a brilliant actress.
Yes.
After you finish Ozark, go watch The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's such a good one. Anyway, but Jason Bateman apparently, I heard this on their Smartless podcast that he does, that he begged Laura Linney to step in and direct because either he didn't have someone or he needed support for whatever reason, and she's never directed before. So episodes 3 and 4 were directed by Laura Linney.
Oh,
anyway,
cool.
Okay, so in my opinion, that's the most interesting thing about this series. She says with a smile.
Yeah.
So like Jake is this mostly stable brother. I mean, he's got some issues. For
He's
the
got
most
some issues.
part, like, yeah, he's got his shit together. Again, the restaurant's doing well. He's successful mostly.
Mm-hmm.
But then, Vince shows up, and it, to me, it all boils down to family.
Mm-hmm.
How far do you let an unhealthy familial relationship drag you down?
Mm-hmm.
Do you do anything or go to any extreme for family? And how that dynamic works.
Yes.
And to me, that was the movie. That was the series. And it was just one thing after another.
Yes.
Like, oh, he did this, but he's going to be better. But oh, he did that again, but he's going to do better. I'm like, if we're in our like 40s and 50s now, if he was going to do better, he would have done better, right? And I'm not saying you stop loving him, but let's think about this.
No, I think that that's a good point. And for our dear listeners, for a little bit of context of me and Janet, we are two ladies that went to a lot of therapy because of our mothers and ended our relationships with our own mothers because of how toxic and bad they were, right? So
Yes.
I am squarely I'm on the same team as you as far as that goes. Because Vince is just gets himself into trouble. Basically, the whole thing is about gambling. And I hate to gamble, y'all. I don't like it. I think it's silly in my opinion. But I understand the addiction part of it. It's just like alcohol and drugs is an addiction, so is gambling. And that's Vince's problem. He's got a gambling problem and he gets into these situations, puts himself in danger, and then just ends up dragging his brother into those situations. So then his brother's in danger. So it's like every scene is just the two of them digging themselves deeper into these holes, trying to get out of them. And I wrote in my notes, my blood pressure was high the entire show. I was like stressed for them.
And it's true. He's like, well, if I can just get this debt paid off, then everything will be fine.
But then he does
But
something
to get
else.
the debt paid off, I need to do this to get the money to pay off the debt. And it's like they're working together because they're brothers and I love you and I will never let anything happen to you. And then they're screaming at each other because they hate each other. And then they're walking away from each other. And then they're calling, okay, I'm sorry I walked away, but I need your help. Like, why don't we pick a personality and be consistent with that person? Either we're going to get along, we're going to make it work, or maybe we need to go to therapy. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was very frustrating. It was so frustrating.
They couldn't make it to therapy because they were busy running from these people who were trying to kill them because of the money they owed them. They couldn't even get that far.
They were going to rob the therapist for money to pay off the draft. I don't know. Anyway.
That could have been a plot point. I don't know. I will say I thought that the acting was all very good. I thought the cast was great. There was some other like side stories that were happening. They kind of went through some of the family background kind of to sort of explain why Vince and Jake, I guess, are the way they are. Like their dad was abusive to their mom. their dad died, like blah blah blah.
A lot of
Vin-
flashbacks to
a lot
tell
of flash.
this, which
Yeah,
I didn't like. I did not like, but
it
whatever.
was it was okay.
Not not my
Um,
series.
not my series.
Not my
Um,
series.
yeah, it was a lot of that, but some of the dynamics that were happening at the actual restaurant and like those relationships, like there's a bartender Anna, she's a big part of the story, like because at the beginning it's determined that she was assaulted by somebody in at the bar, and it doesn't really disclose, but just doesn't come back to work. Like it's a whole thing. And Jake is so wrapped up in all the other stuff he's doing, he doesn't take the time to figure out what's going on with her. So that's a
Hmm.
whole thing. And then when he does find out, he doesn't do the things that he should have done to protect the
Exactly.
rest of the girls.
As a manager, as a stand-up man, he does not do what he should have done.
He does not do what he should have. So there was a lot of sort of over there was a lot of overlapping stories. And then
Hmm.
something happens to Anna later that's related to her assault, but then this other part of the universe with the gambling collides with that. Like it was a lot. There was a lot of threads.
Yeah, well, and then Vince's daughter, you find out he's got a daughter who's,
Yeah,
out there, and he's clearly not dad material.
right.
And that ends up, like you said, kind of being woven into the whole gambling thing and the,
Mhm.
oh my God, it's just like,
It was a lot.
it was a lot, and it felt dark. Like I
So
felt like a
dark.
lot of it just like emotionally dark, but even
Yeah.
on the screen dark.
Yeah.
Very muted colors, and I don't
Well,
know.
it is the Black Rabbit.
I guess it didn't say the perky shiny white rabbit, did it, Janet? No, it did
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
With blue
No.
skies and sunshine rabbit.
And I'll tell a personal story too. This, not to obviously this degree, but I did date a man in my 20s who reminds me of Vince.
Hmm.
Not with the gambling per se, but just like he was constantly trying to do this job, then get this other job. He was like constantly like scheming, I guess is a good
Yeah.
word. And
Right.
that's how I felt Vince was. He was constantly trying to figure out the next way that he was going to get more money. And that reminded me of my ex-boyfriend. So maybe I was also traumatized by this show because of that and just triggered by that whole dynamic, because I forever, when I was in that relationship, was trying to like bring him back down to earth, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, let's look at reality, sir. This scheme you're coming up with is not going to work,
Correct.
but just like constantly try like, and I realize now it was just a personality disorder. He was narcissistic, but I,
Hmm.
like that kind of, I don't know. I was stressed out the whole time watching the show.
Yeah, and I guess the theme I keep coming back to is you don't have to live like that.
Right.
Like, you don't have to live in a world filled with violence and debt and drama and anger and hatred and like you, and yes, I understand it's fiction, but like, woof.
But some people
I
do live
mean,
that way.
and I can't imagine that. Therefore, it is difficult for me to accept that and absorb it and get
Right.
into it. So I feel like I checked out a little bit here and there just because I'm like, oh my God,
Right. It's
you
very
know.
frustrating for a sane person
Hmm. Yeah,
to,
maybe, yeah.
yeah, to watch them running around like, I don't know. I have extreme anxiety. Like none of that. I would never be doing any of those things.
None of that is calming.
No. So I think that's why I was like, I liked the show. I thought the acting was good, all of that, but wasn't my favorite.
Yeah. What about this? And in my notes, I said Jake is constantly trying to help Vince, and he sacrifices his own stability,
That's true.
like financial, his life, and everything to do that. Um, Loyalty despite everything,
Right.
and I think that was another big theme, like I mentioned earlier, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you hear about that people spend their entire life, I don't know, bailing out their alcoholic sister who never gets help, but they always try to rescue her because she needs them. And that's just a random example. But, I kept coming back to the point where do you draw the line, and where do you draw the line? And I don't want to give away the way it ended.
Yeah.
The ending did not surprise me. Um,
No, I was
but
expecting
the
that actually.
ending, yeah, the ending kind of solved the problem for everybody. But, if it didn't end that way, I think that's a good question that comes out of this is where do you draw the line? Or do
It's
you
the
draw a line when it's
yeah,
family?
it's the moral ambiguity and like also they were really big on like what is my image? How am I being portrayed by other people? And I'm keeping all these secrets.
Hmm.
Like, especially on Jake's side, like his business partners and all of that, they were fed up with his shit. Like, he was just lying to
Yeah.
everybody. They expected those things from Vince, but then Jake getting pulled into it. As you said, he like completely blew up his own life just to help his
Hmm.
brother.
Right.
Um,
And and
and I think
why do
it's
you care what somebody thinks about you? That's another question, but
yes,
that comes with
yes,
maturity and age, I believe.
and therapy. And I also,
And therapy. We should
I,
start calling it. Should I watch that? Hashtag therapy.
yes. Um, I also, the family thing is a very cultural thing, right? And
Hmm.
it's like across all cultures. I mean, and our Western culture is very individualistic. Some of the Eastern cultures, like, you do not step out against your grandparents, against your parents, like family over everything. You would die for your family. We are
Yes.
definitely not that far in the Western culture, but it's still there. It's still a
Yeah.
pervasive theme that family is your family no matter what they do to you.
Hmm.
And
And
that
you
is
should always be there. Yes. And
and
no
that is
matter how many
toxic
times,
AF.
yes, that you are damaged emotionally, mentally, whatever, repeatedly,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it's your brother or it's your
Exactly.
sister or your dad or whatever, that you just
Yes.
continue to take the abuse because, well, they're family.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
And I definitely think that that is something at least that I'm seeing in my little universe that our generation and like younger generations, we're starting to break that curse a little bit more.
Hmm.
We're trying to hold people accountable for the shitty things they do, right? I mean,
Yes. Yes.
so I do thankfully see a little bit more of a cultural shift and holding people. I think that's another thing that comes from like the secrecy, right? Is that
Hmm.
it's not out in the open. So you don't really talk about these craziness that's going on with family. You keep it a secret so other people don't
Hmm.
know. You're projecting this image. But I feel like I said, like younger generations, we're calling people out.
Yeah.
I called my dad out the other day for being an asshole. You know what I'm saying? I, like we are less willing to just shove it under the rug when we're being mistreated, which I think is better, right?
I agree. And at what point, uh, How do I put this? At what point do you stop and realize that what's happening to you is abuse?
Yeah, I
Right?
mean,
Y-
that's
You
hard.
know, right. And it's may not be in the form of, someone
Physical.
showing up every night and beating the shit out of you or whatever and sending you
Mhm.
to work with a black eye tomorrow. There are so many different forms of abuse. And
Yes.
I think being able to recognize that puts a different spin on
Mhm.
relationships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. Well, before we started, dear listeners, Janet said to me, she said, "This isn't going to be long. I don't have much to say." And here we are at 20 minutes. But I will say we didn't really talk much about the show. We talked about themes about the show. So, um,
It was fine. The acting was mostly convincing, and the scenes and the coloring, blah blah blah. It was fine. Um, I you know
yeah,
Yeah. Should we ask the
yeah.
question? Do we have anything else to talk about with this show?
I was about to ask you, should people
No.
watch that, Janet?
Give me something different. Give me something I haven't seen before. Give me a different take or a different perspective on something I've seen before, and I'll be interested. And I was very disappointed because I am a fan of Bateman. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and, I'd heard him talking about this a lot on Smartless, and I don't know. I was just kind of, it ended, and I was like, oh, well, that's done. So yeah, I say no.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
no final answer.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel, should I watch that?
Mm-hmm. Also, no.
And there you have it.
But dear listeners, remember that we're both coming from a very specific
hmm
perspectives. So like this show like totally triggered my anxiety. So maybe if you are not as anxious as me, you would have been fine getting through this show. But I was like on edge the whole time, like I said. So that was hard for me just from a body perspective. Like I really did feel like my blood pressure was just skyrocketing watching this show because it was so stressful, the lengths that they were going to. So keep that in mind, okay, as you listen to this, because maybe you would really
hmm
enjoy this show. I don't know. But I did want to put out there, since we did talk a lot about gambling and gambling addictions, some helpful
hmm
resources, okay? So if you or someone you know and love suffers from a gambling addiction, there is a national problem gambling helpline in the US, and you can call 1-800-GAMBLER. You can also text support to 800 GAM, and that is available 24/7. There's also a national helpline, the SAMHSA, and that's Substance Use and Behavioral Addictions Helpline. And that's 1-800-662-HELP, HELP. There's other resources. There's Gamblers Anonymous, therapy locators. There's a lot of digital support. For our global listeners, there's gamblingtherapy.org, and they offer free online counseling, forums, and self-help tools in multiple languages. So if you or someone you know is suffering from gambling or other behavioral addictions, please get help. Because we want you to not have to live this way that they did in
Exactly.
this
There are
show.
better ways. Oh my goodness. Less stress, less drama, more
Because I
peace.
can't imagine. I can't imagine what your blood pressure and your cortisol levels are doing.
They're
So,
dancing all over the place. Anyway. Whoa.
wow.
So, there you have it.
So yeah, think there you have it. Thanks for listening, everybody. And this has been another episode of Should I Watch That? Proof that anyone can have a film degree from Google.
I love it.
See what I did there?
That's us. All right. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
See you later. Goodbye.
This episode was produced by Ryan Myrick.
Follow us on Instagram at Should I Watch That 25 and on Facebook at Should I Watch That.
Email us at shouldIwatchthat25@gmail.com.
Like, follow, and review wherever you listen to us.
Or wherever you cast your pods. Thanks.
Thank you.